I have certain organizations and certain values in my life that I want to make happen for, and bless so many other people by doing it, right? If I can help, you know, homeless vets build a community and learn how to like do trades and build their own self-sufficient city. And it could be, I could do it. It's not when, it's I will do it. It's just getting it done. So, and those are that's what keeps me going, right?
Tim is one of the most authentic and genuine people I've ever met.
Sincerely believe he's coming from a position of giving, and that means a lot.
You're going to make huge progress.
Welcome everybody to today's capital raising show. Today I have my good friend Dan Zitofsky. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly there, Dan. Dan is a longtime investor, very experienced. What I love about Dan is that he has a wide range of experience when it comes to raising capital. So he's been raising capital for a long time. Raising capital through people's savings account, investments account, IRA account, 401ks. He has his Zitofsky Capital Management that he does deals out of and raise money out of. And Dan has closed over 800 fix and flips, over 650 rental properties, 800 doors, multifamily doors, over 1,000 private money notes, non-performing notes. So as you can see, a wide range of experience here. Dan has raised over $30 million, and then using that to turn it over $200 million in velocity. Yeah, Dan specializes in using funds to turn non-performing assets into performing assets, creating passive income, teaching his clients how to be the bank. Dan's specialty, he also trains other investors how to create long-term passive wealth for themselves, and one of his biggest accomplishments, took him many years to accomplish, is becoming a best-selling author of his first book, Passive to Prosperous. And Dan's true love and passion is mentoring other investors and entrepreneurs, figuring out their why, their vision, who they are. So with that, everybody, let's welcome Dan Zitofsky. Yay!
Thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate it. Listen, this is such an honor. I don't do too many of these much anymore. I kind of pick and choose who I work with and who I come on for. And I really value what you're doing and the community you're building and how honest and ethical you are with your community. So it's been an honor. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I know we talked about it for a long time and it's hard to get it up, but these are one of those events I've really been looking forward to. So I want to thank you for bringing me on, and I honor that. So thanks so much.
Well, it's an honor for us to have you on. So I'm super excited. So Dan, let's just start out. You can share with us, how you got into capital raising, and, kind of your journey around that, and how with all the different how you transition basically from one asset to the next asset as well.
Sure, that's a great question. And that's a big journey for myself, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners here went through that journey too. I've been doing this now, and I'm going to age myself. I've been doing this since 1989, so almost 90, so 32 years essentially. I just can't even believe I'm saying that. Been an investor for 32 years. Back in the day, it was one of those where you beg and plead people to invest in your deals, and I was doing very well. And then back in 2007, 8, 9, in that era, I had a lot of deals. I was doing, as we said, I was doing a lot of fix and flips. That's before I really got into multifamilies. I was doing a lot of fix and flips back then on single family, some duplexes, some rentals. And I still remember we had 8 deals ready to close at that time during that era, and all under contract and ready to close. And at that point, the banks had pulled out. Not only we were ready to sell those fix and flips, but we were closing on 3 ourselves with hard money lender or bank financing. So I essentially lost 11 deals at the time. And at that point, it cost me about $350,000 in cost in funds plus opportunity cost. And I swore, and I tell everybody back at that time in about 2009, I swore I would never let a hard money lender or a bank control my business ever again. And I knew if I had to build a business, I had to learn how to raise private money the right way. So I went on a journey at that point myself. There was no YouTube, there was no Tim Mize hero class. There was no raising private money courses. Everyone now has one. And I decided at that point, I'm going to beat my head and I'm going to figure this out. So I started back in that point on raising private money. And how I started raising, I never got to the point, I never asked for private money anymore. I never asked for investors anymore. I just teach and I show content and I show what I'm doing over and over again, investors come to me and I actually interview them to see if they're a fit for my project, right? I always talk about this is my project. Let's see if you're a fit for my project and my program. So that happened back then. And I started raising money pretty quickly, a little different than most. Most people raise money, they go to real estate investing events. I raise money a little differently, right? I go to events that have nothing to do with real estate investors, because most real estate investors, let's be honest, they want to make some pretty serious money on their money, right? They're active investors. They don't want to make 6, 7, 8% on their money. They want to make in the teens to 20%. That's what they're seeing, right? In multifamilies with your debt and equity position, your IRR, you're seeing some pretty big numbers, which are amazing. So back in that day, I decided I had to learn how to raise private money the right way. And I couldn't scramble. I couldn't do deals anymore where I was getting to the table a day or two before and people are backing out of my deals and not funding my deals. So I learned how to raise private money the right way at that time. Now, the asset classes we're talking about, I was very transactional. As I said, in my book, you'll read the story if you guys read my book, Path to the Prosperous. I was very transactional. I was doing a lot of business. I was doing 50 flips easily a year. I was netting anywhere from, and anyone who was a fix and flipper here, that's why a lot of people get in. They thought wholesaling, all right, they'll start laughing because then they go to the fix and, this is the pendulum, right? Wholesaling, fix and flipping, single family landlord, multifamily, all right? And then some become the bank like I have. They decide they want to be the bank. But I was doing a lot of transactional business. I was working myself to the bone, 80 to 100 hours a week. Literally to the point where, and this kind of gets me, everyone thought I had everything. I drove the nicest cars, the nicest boat. I had a watch collection that can choke a horse. I had all the nicest clothes. And to the point where my wife was not happy. She was not happy. She didn't expect this. She didn't want this. All she wanted was me. And I was out there trying to make a lot of money to impress everybody, right? So I know I might hit a nerve. Everyone here talks about how many doors they own, right? And I was in that space, right? And to me, when I got to 800 doors, I mean, I hear people here are owning. I'm friends with people that own thousands. I've been GP and an LP in those deals. I understand. I particularly don't like that, right? That to me was very transactional. I was working for other people, and I didn't want to live that passive life. So when you asked me why am I doing this, and I said, well, I want to be a real estate investor. I want to do a lot of business because I want to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want. And for so long, I was working 80 to 100 hours a week. So really, was I really doing what I wanted, when I wanted, with whom I wanted? So that's how the pendulum kind of switched. And I got more from the GP role into the LP role. And I always say, I love to raise capital. I will be a GP on deals that I raise capital on. But I like to bet on the jockey, not the horse. So I turned into really, from private lending and becoming a hard money lender myself, I started raising capital, becoming a hard money lender myself. I started becoming the bank, right? I started raising capital to buy, instead of buying just multifamilies, I was buying big pools of non-performing notes, so multifamilies. So once you raise private capital, you could buy those multifamily notes. And I remember in 2010, I could have bought assets for 20 to 30 cents on a dollar, multifamilies. Wow. I was equity rich, cash poor. Once again, banks weren't giving out money. Everyone was controlling my business. So I had to learn how to raise private money. There was no way else to do this. And if I would have raised private money back then, I would have been able to take down thousands and thousands of doors of multifamilies that right now I'd be sitting really, really nice. So this is where I see the market going. And that's why I'm hitting it hard at this point and just getting all my ducks in a row, because I speak to the asset managers of the banks and I know what's coming. So, notes are going to be called due. There's going to be a ton of inventory on the deck. So Fannie, Freddie are opening up. They're able to finally, courts are opening up. So you need to have that private capital ready to go. You can't base your business on a bank's portfolio saying they're going to lend you money and not lend you money. I mean, it's great if you could do it on the value add and refinance, but you need to be able to close on a deal quick. And that's where you get the best deals. So I became the bank and I started taking down these non-performing assets, turning them into performing assets. So a lot of them were single families. I was turning them into performing notes, right? So I was either getting the borrower to perform, I was taking the property back, rehabbing it, renting it, and then selling it to an investor on a note, seller financing. Okay. I was holding it in my portfolio. So now I truly became the bank where I could actually do what I wanted to do. I didn't have to worry about contractors, property managers, tenants, realtors, inspectors, banks. I was able to control everything. So that was the pendulum how I went. And as I go over the next 10 years, more of my assets are going to go into an LP situation with great syndicators and less into a GP role. I'm trying to pull out of that over the next 10 years. I just turned 50, so you guys know my age. By 60, that's the target. At 60, I don't want to look at another building. I just want to, collect my check sitting on the beach. So that's the pendulum and how it goes. And I'm sure we have some people here that are thinking the same thing. They're like, I'll do this for a couple of years and then I'll switch and I'll become the LP or GP, or I'll become a sponsor on the deal. And that's kind of where it went for me.
Right, that's awesome. And you mentioned that you started raising money where the normal investors are not raising their money. So what are some of those places that you focus in on?
Well, great question. What I'll do is I will research accredited type investors and I'll start, reaching out to them, right? I'll invite them into investor meetings, right? I do investor meetings. This is what I used to teach for all the RIAs, and I became one of the top educators on raising private capital. And I would do investor meetings. I would do 8 to 10 investors at a meeting. I would actually invite them with a 5-star event, like a wedding invitation, to come to my event. And we would cap it at 8 to 10 investors. And then I would do a follow-up with them. So I would never raise money at the meeting. I would just come and show the type of people we're doing, right? Get to know them. Then I would do a follow-up the next day. And I would invite them to either a phone call, coffee, lunch, whatever it might be. And I still, because I followed SEC regulations, I still didn't raise capital on the spot. And I would have a 30 to 45 day relationship with them. I would get to hear what their dreams were, what their issues were, what they were scared of, make sure that I wanted to work with them. And then when I had a deal, I would present it to them. Okay. And that would take a 30 to 45 day period. So a lot of it was, I can easily find accredited investors. And that's what I show people how to do. I would also do, everyone has, and this is what I teach, everybody has, a hobby they like outside of real estate, right? Like, what's your hobby? What do you like to do? Tim,
me? Yeah,
what do you like to do?
I love animals, so like I'm in a koi club, fish. Yeah.
So I would find some kind of hobbies, like a koi club, a fish club, or something like that. And I would go to that and I would have my elevator pitch down. Okay. So when I speak in a room, I always ask people what they do. And never does somebody tell me the first thing they do is raise capital. All they tell you is I'm a real estate investor. I'm an engineer. I whatever it is, I'm a teacher. I'm this. So the first thing I tell people is I raise capital. My name's Dan. I raise capital to buy multifamily buildings in the emerging markets, class A to B buildings, to increase value and pay my investors better than average returns. That's generally how it would go, right? I'm more now distressed debt. So I make sure I do that, but I go like, I'm into cigars, I'm into bourbon, I was into good beer, right? I'm into cars, I'm into boats. So I would go to a yacht club, I would hang out there. I joined the yacht club. So we would talk, all right, so you're into golfing, you're into yachting, you're into boating, you're into wine, you're into cigars, right? If you go to these local events and we could all raise money from each other, but right, we're all competing with each other to raise money. When I go to events, like I'm not in the dirty, I call them the murky waters, where you throw chum out, everybody comes in, right? The IRA offices, right? That we all go to. We all go to these meetings and everybody's got a deal and everyone's trying to raise money. And that's a good place to do it. It is a good place to do it, to find your partners. But you have to get outside of that wheelhouse a little bit to raise capital. All right. And then in your local area, just kind of pinpoint, real basic, pinpoint a market that, just real easy. Houses that are over $1 million in your market, probably an accredited type investor. Those are the ones you want to kind of market to. All right. And remember, never ask for money, educate them. I always teach content. Teach them how to be the bank, right? Think about it. You have families, business owners, teach them how to pay their kids, right? Teach business owners how to set up a solo 401k. Teach people how to do retirees. Why? Is you're going to have their money with you until they're at least 59 and a half, right? Now you help them, save $50,000, $60,000 a year in taxes, husband and wife, that's $100,000 a year. Now they put the money into a solo 401k. Now what do they do with it? Now you're their expert. So too many times I see people just asking for money, but they don't provide any value. Everything I've done in my business is always provide value. Content, just like you're doing, Tim, you're providing so much content. By you providing content, people are going to come to you and say, Tim, you're the expert. Where do I go with my money? I got 50 million to work with. Where do I go with it? You're going to have a place for it, rather than somebody else that comes on and says, hey, do you want to fund my deal? but they're not, I don't even know if they know what they're doing. So
Right.
that's content is king. I can't tell you enough. Content is king. There's so much content out there you can work with. You can put out Zooms, you could put out videos, never asking for money. Don't do that. Okay. But you could put content that you know what you're doing. Show videos, show walkthroughs of, due diligence, right? Show people what you're doing. Tell me why that's a good emerging market. If you ask me to invest in Texas, Houston, why is Houston a good market? And when I ask you questions, you better have the answers to those questions. What's going on with your per capita unemployment rate? What's going on with rents? What's going on with Economic Development Corp? What's going on with the Chamber of Commerce? Who's coming in? What jobs are coming? Why is this a good market to buy a multifamily? What does the competition look like? So a lot of times, and I get a lot of people, I probably have 2 to 3 a week hit me up and ask me if I'd fund their deals. And I work with very few. I have 2 operators in the multifamily space and 3 in the self-storage space that I fund. Because they're just phenomenal operators. So I always say, I don't even care how much money you make. I care about the operator. That's when I go back to bet on the jockey, not the horse.
Right. So, all right. So you go to these clubs, these meetings, you introduce yourself that you raise money. So what does the invitation from that conversation look like into a private, small group luncheon?
Think about it like a wedding. What we do is we actually have their contact info. We'll set up consistent. I used to set up consistent meetings every Tuesday at 12 and Wednesday at 7 o'clock at night. And I had them in my office, my conference room. And if people showed up, we did it. If they didn't show up, I worked. I stayed consistent. But once I had 8 to 10 people, and I would have them call the RSVP. They had to call an RSVP for the address. And once they would call the RSVP, if we were full, we'd say, sorry, we're full this Tuesday. Does tomorrow at 12, tomorrow at 7 work, or does next Tuesday work? It's never a problem to say we're full. Think about it. It's never a problem to say my deal is funded. I'll get you on the next time. I tell them, take my class on taking action quicker. All right. So think about a wedding invitation, and we treat them like a 5-star when they come in. And I think, most people that know me have seen me do these events, and they are top-notch events. They're really VIP type events. I treat people like gold when they come. I don't ever ask them for money. I honor them coming and spending time with me, and I really want to help them at that point. So they really want to work with me, and I show them why it's a good deal, why it's a good asset class, why I buy in this area. And I tell them right up front, it might not be a good deal for you. We might not accept you. We always say that we might not accept you because there are a lot of times we don't accept people. There's a lot of things everybody here should have the avatar of the perfect investor they want to work with. And I would tell you, don't accept everybody's money. All right, don't accept everybody's money. Figure out what your perfect avatar is and start working with those. Go after those people. So I do it a little reverse.
That's awesome. So would you say, do you need a nice office to do something like that versus if you don't have as nice of an office, doing it as a hotel instead? And what might be the advantage and disadvantage of that?
Well, you don't need a nice office. I did have a nice conference room. You don't need one. You can go and rent these conference rooms for $20 a shot. You talk to your title company, speak to a real estate agent, speak to a lawyer. They'll all let you use that conference room, right? Buy a little lunch, buy some cans of soda and water. If nobody comes, if some reason you have it, I would just stay consistent. Here's the thing. Nobody stays consistent. The difference with me and everyone else is I did it every Tuesday and every Wednesday, whether somebody showed up or not. Stay consistent. If nobody shows up, give the stuff to somebody's staff. I didn't really do it in hotels. I wasn't big in hotels for stuff like that. To me, that's a little too salesy. You have commission breath. I call it commission breath, right? You're just out there to sell them. I would do it I would find restaurants where they have the private rooms, coffee shops where they have a private room. I like doing it there. It's a little bit more upscale. And you got to remember, I'm treating an accredited type of investor more than just coming to a hotel room to buy a course. Right. That's kind of what when I go to a hotel event, I always think it's okay. We're coming here. Somebody's going to sell me a course. They're going to try to hawk some costs and on, I know, because when I go speak at hotels, they're always like, well, I want you to sell your stuff and we get half. And that's where I think of a hotel event, or it's a mastermind group where I love that, where it's like not a sell thing. It's just a mastermind group where everybody gets together and we really, 50 to 100 people, we mastermind. But when you're working with 6 to 8 people, you could do it in a hotel, just you don't have to. You can literally do it. Libraries, conference rooms are free. You can find title companies, realtors, attorney offices, they'll let you use it, or go pay $20-25 to rent an office conference room somewhere.
Right. And what would you say is the pros and cons of doing it like the way you do it, small group, couple times a week versus a bigger group, maybe, a couple times a month? What would you say? Is there a benefit to doing it a bigger group, or do you see it's more effective as a smaller group?
It all depends on the syndication you have. If you have an open syndication where you could openly market, I would just pack the place, right? I would pack the place because you could take money on the spot. I do it where I have to have a relationship with them. Credit investors have that 30 to 45 day relationship with them. And I feel like I'm never in a need at this point in my life. I'm never in a need now where I need a lot of money today, right? I'm always consistently looking for new investors that I have money. But if you have a deal and it hurts, people like I need $10 million. I've raised 5 already. Like you might be down to the last 2 weeks. Well, and you need a lot of people in there, right? You need a lot of people in there. So, you figure you need at least 25 to 50 people in that room that are going to commit. And anytime you do that, you always have to overraise because people don't come through. Right. So I would say, and it depends how much money you need, depending how fast you need it. But if you stay consistent, even after your $10 million raise, you just stay consistently doing this. So, you have people lined up and they're interested. Not everybody's going to be interested. You have a follow-up. And that's how you build a rapport. And I'll tell you what, a lot of the investors when I say to borrow, the lenders I deal with, they tell me all the time, they're like, Dan, I have all this money. I'm literally not interested in working with anyone else other than you. Because I've said before, I said, listen, I have a GP out there. He's really good. He needs some money. And they're like, no, if you're not involved, I'm not interested. And that's because I build a rapport with people. So I can't implore that enough of you. Build a rapport when you don't need the money. It'll change your life. Because I know right now I can shoot out an email right now and probably fund a deal pretty quickly within 24 hours. There's just the rapport I built. It didn't happen day one that way, but I built a rapport over time. And that's what I'm trying to implore in everybody is build that rapport. Stop having commission breath and begging people for money. Let people come to you and ask, how do I get in your deal? And then I turn to them and I say, listen, let's see if you're a good fit for my program. It's always my program. It's not their program. I do it my way. So
I love it. I love it. And what are some of the questions do you, I guess, how much do you pre-screen them prior to inviting them to your office? So that way, or get a good feel that, high chance that they are an accredited investor. What are some of the questions that you use to pre-screen them as you meet?
Well, when I market to them, first of all, I don't market to them unless they, are business owners or own a property. I physically can see that they're on a deed of a property worth at least $1 million, right? So I know right away that's my pre-screening. Then they come to an event, right? I'm not asking for money at this event. I'm just talking then they fill out an investor questionnaire. Then we have a follow-up. At that follow-up is really where I'm screening them. That's really where my screening goes on. So when we leave that second meeting, I was talking about 2 meetings in 30 to 45 days. That second meeting that we have, I'm screening them, they're screening me. I leave that meeting either saying that somebody I want to work with or somebody I don't want to partner with. And that's where it goes. And now when I have the next deal, they get called. And they go kind of to the top of the list of call because I want to see if they perform. I want to see how serious they are. And if I give them exactly what they're looking for and they don't perform right away, I kind of push them back down to the bottom of the list. Right. So that's my screening process. I mean, everyone has their own. And it all depends, like I said, how fast you need to raise the money and how much you need to raise. But if you start doing that when you don't have to raise, your life will be like, if you start this today, because you don't need the money today, you need it in 3 months when you have a deal, you'll be so much better off. So this what you're doing right now, Tim, is you realize, I don't know if people realize the value you're providing them right now, because I'm hearing what's going on and I'm telling you what, I raised a lot of money and I've used it well over $200 million in velocity. And I've raised, $30 million in 2 weeks, not a problem. Right. So, but I'm blown away by the amount of money people are raising, the amount of deals people are doing here. So you have an amazing, amazing family here. I love it. It's probably one of the best I've seen. And that's why I was excited to come on here and speak and give some value to people here.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely do have an amazing community for sure. Everyone on here are like top. We're like the cream of the crop in the industry, for sure.
Really are.
And so the first meeting is a small group. Is the second meeting with them one-on-one?
Yes, always one-on-one, because that's where the detailed questions, that's when the deep questions come out. And that's when I look at him in the eyes or on the phone and I ask him, I said, so let me ask you, Tim, what happens if I call you up and I lost your money? And I shut up and I listen. Because the one thing I never want to do for somebody, the one thing I never want to do, and I can't guarantee anything except my due diligence and how hard I'm going to work for them, but I never want to lose a dollar for any investor. But the truth of the matter is, I know a lot of people are out there guaranteeing results. And you can't do that. Legally you can't do that, and ethically you shouldn't do that. But I always ask them what happens when if I call you up and I tell you, Tim, the deal went sideways. It didn't go as planned. COVID happened. I had no control. Tenants stopped paying rent. I just can't pay you back right now. I'll try to make it up to you, but I can't pay you back. What happens? And I want to see their face. I want to hear their voice. What I don't want to do is put any of my lenders at any kind of undue stress. I don't want to take their last dollar that they're paying their own mortgage with. I want this to be a great relationship, right? So if you look at, and once again, if you're noticing the trend of what I'm saying, it's always protecting my lenders, always protecting my lenders. I didn't even worry about how much money I make. It's always, how do I protect my lenders? How do I make them comfortable? And that's kind of the second meeting. And I ask them everything. That's when I ask them how much money they have to work with. What are they comfortable with? Where's the money coming from? Sometimes they don't know. Sometimes I sit there and I leave that meeting and I'm on the phone with their financial advisor, setting up a self-directed IRA for well over a couple $1 million, right? They have no idea that they could do this. They left their job. They got a buyout. They left as a VP of a bank. They had no idea they can roll their money over into a self-directed and invest in real estate. They're coming to a meeting, tell me they have 300 grand to work with, and then they have a $2 million, 401k that they can move. So that's why it's so important, once again, to get to know your investors, right? Become their concierge. Help them set up a self-directed IRA. Help them set up a solo 401k. Talk to them about life insurance, whole life policies, life insurance, becoming your own bank. Like, open these up. You don't have to do it for them, but be the concierge. Give them 3 people. Here, check these 3 people out. You walk them through the process. Make it easy for them, because then you become the hero, right? The hero, right? You become the hero. Doing that for them. So that's why that second meeting, I love it in person. If I could do it in person, I do it in person every time. I mean, I've flown out to people, sat with them in person and flown back. I love sitting down with somebody in person, because you could tell so much in person if you break bread with them, and you will have them working with you, partnering with you for life. I remember when I bought my first multifamily building, one of the people I met with in person, he signed as the sponsor for me, because I didn't have the network to sign as a sponsor. So I had sponsors in my first 3 deals. I don't know if you guys talk about, but I had sponsors after my 3rd deal. I was able to sponsor my own deals. But he sponsored my deal for me when I met with him. So, and I was able to negotiate the deal. You know how much a sponsor could take. I negotiated a deal, and he was never involved in this. So he was great to do it. So, that was the VP of the bank. So.
Wow, that's awesome. So, so you raise money for a variety of different assets, right? From everything from single family, hard money, multifamily, notes. Do you profile your investors and then recommend them accordingly? Do you push them into any specific asset type, or do you want them to diversify, or how does that conversation go?
Well, I think it goes a lot. You and I both work with Sean. I think it goes a lot into their vision and their why. All right. And if they come to me and they say, well, listen, I have a business. I just want to make some passive income, or I want to retire. I want to spend my time traveling the world. I don't want to be bothered. Well, why would I push them into a transactional deal? Right. Because a lot of people, when I coach them on that, on life coaching, it's more of life coaching. What is your vision? What are you looking to do? What is your goals? And then, yeah, I will open their eyes to different, because most people tell me they want to live a passive lifestyle. But I mean, even me, I don't know, you have a group of multifamily investors now. When I was at GP and I owned 800 doors, I felt like all I was doing was working for investors. That's what I felt like I was doing, right? That was me. I didn't have it set up the way I really was passive. I mean, every Monday I'm on the phone with the property managers. I'm constantly doing due diligence. I'm constantly dealing with turnover. I'm constantly dealing with finding new deals. I'm constantly dealing with the banks. I'm constantly raising money. I wanted some passive lifestyle. That's why the book is called Passive to Prosperous, and our company's Passive to Prosperous. It's about passive income to a prosperous life. So yeah, I will definitely sit with somebody and say, listen, I think this is your best bet. But you remember, most of the investors I deal with, the lenders I deal with, my private lenders, they are not active investors. So it's very easy for me at that point, right? They just want to be the bank. They just want to trust the operator. So they'll come to me and they'll ask me a lot of times, and I have people I talk to all the time. They're like, Dan, I have money. What can I invest in with you? And I'm involved in, some big deals, bigger deals, taking down some large portfolios of seller finance, the single family homes, sometimes multifamily homes, sometimes self-storage facilities, mobile home parks, bought and sold a hotel. So I'm involved in a lot of asset classes, and I call it like a bag of tricks. I don't say in one asset class. But what I don't do is I don't verge away and go into anything that's going to take up all my time. All right. That's not what I do. I don't chase time. Now, as a GP, you have to be an amazing operator. I realized for multifamilies, I didn't like being an operator for multifamilies. I love being an operator on the seller financing, bank, portfolio lending for single families and notes. But as an operator, I didn't enjoy being an operator on multifamilies. I did it for many years. I didn't like doing it. So in 2019, I sold off all my multis. And it was a great time to sell them. I wish I held them another 2 or 3 years and sold them now. But I bought them at 9.8 cap, sold them at a 5.6 cap. But it all depends on, everybody's got a genius zone, right? I've watched some of your interviews, and people partner together, right? And you got to figure out what your genius zone is. If you're a great operator, you're a great money raiser, you're a great, due diligence guy, you're a great admin, person, whatever it is you're good at, that's where you stay. And that's where you'll kind of shine. And that's where, lenders see that and they want to work with you for that. So I'll find a great operator and I'll say, hey, Tim, you got this deal. I love the deal. Let's do it together. I'll be a GP on it. I'll help you raise capital. I'll do something, but you handle the operating part. So that's kind of where I've gone with it. And over the next 10 years, I'm going to do more of that and kind of dwindle down into just an LP role after 10 years, I think.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, so at this point, have you found, I guess, okay, with different types of asset like that, and, as you mentioned, you do it based on their vision, but have you found that one asset is easier to raise money for than others?
No, where it gets easy is when people see you're the expert in that field. Okay. Like for me, when I first started in the multifamily space, it was a little tough for me, right? Because I had to prove myself. So I put skin in the game on those deals, right? So I said, listen, I value this so much, I'm going to put my skin in the game. So I put a decent amount of skin in the game. And my first deal was a 22-unit building, and then I bought a 14-unit building right after that. And then I went to a 150 unit building. That's just how I kept going up and up and up. And but yeah, people were used to me buying single families at the time. So they were like, whoa, multifamilies, what's going on? Now they got scared, right? Now it's a risk. So what you have to do, and I tell people, I said, the best thing you can do is find somebody that does great at what you're doing, partner with them, bring them some value of some sort, bring them some value and say, listen, Tim and I are a partner, and Tim found this building. He's an expert. He owns 2,000 doors in the Phoenix market, whatever it is. And I'm going to be working with Tim. So I'm going to be a GP to deal with him. We're going to own this. We're going to partner together on this. So I'm working with Tim. If you go out this on your own first deal, I can love you, but I don't want to put my money. I personally don't want to put my money behind somebody that's doing it first. Not that you're a bad person, but you don't know what you don't know yet. And there's too many people I can invest in right now that I could pick and choose who I invest in. So yeah, in the beginning it was tough to get multis. Then all of a sudden it was like I was closing out deals literally in 3 or 4 days. I'd put it out because what I did is it was like a teaser. I said, hey, I'm going to do due diligence on this deal. Hey, I have an LOI on this deal. Hey, here's where we're going on it. Boom. And everybody's like, let me know when you have the deal. Let me know where you're at. Let me know how I can get involved. So I said, all right, I'll let you know. Boom. As soon as I sent out my email, I got commitments right away. So once again, it was never asking. It was just kind of content. Let them see what I'm doing. I would drive the neighborhoods. I would go to the Economic Development Corp. I would have video of me with the Economic Development Corp. I would constantly forward them why I'm in the, Smyrna. I did a lot in Georgia at the time. So why I'm in that Atlanta, Smyrna, Georgia area. And I would tell them what's going on. I would say, hey, this company is moving in. I was in, Alabama, Huntsville, Montgomery, Birmingham. Here's the companies that are coming in. This is what I love about it. This is the Economic Development Corp. This is the job rate. This is the unemployment rate. This is the median income. And you do that not just when you need money. You do that consistently. So you bring value. You have an email list. Use it for the right way. And I always talk about like a boxing match, right? Jab, 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 jab. When you want the money, it's an uppercut. Jab, 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 uppercut. That's like anything with sales, right? People spend so much time trying to find somebody, but they don't provide any value for them. So if you start providing a lot of value, right, content, and you hear me constantly say this, content and value, you're gonna never have a problem. You'll never have a problem.
Right. So you mentioned that, if you need to raise 5-10 million in a week, you can do that pretty easily.
Oh yeah.
How are you able to do that? Given that I would assume a lot of these investors would have their money out working already, and so you would have to have a pretty big database of investors to be able to do that. Is that correct? Or
most people, yes. The difference is most of the investors the lenders I work with, they're not active investors, right? So they're not looking to work with people they don't know. They're looking to work with people they trust and know. So when they come to me, it's because I brought deals to them before. I said, hey, Tim has a deal. You might want to fund this deal. And then, for bringing money in, I have to be a GP on the deal. But then I get the questions about who is Tim? What does he do? So they're really good on, and I'll tell you what, they really don't ever ask me how much money they're going to get. It's more like, how well do you know him? Has he done deals before? Has she done a great job before? What are some of the issues you've seen? What happens when things went bad, right? What happens when they have a partnership issue? So they'll constantly question that. So for me, it's a little, like you said, it's a little different only because I have a great relationship with my lenders. But if you're starting off new, I would start off today doing exactly what I said. Think about how much money you need and start raising it now before you need it. That's the best thing you can do. Give yourself a 90-day run rate of raising money before you ever need it.
Yeah.
And you'll have a problem raising money.
That's awesome. And I love that you do, one of the things that you mentioned, I don't know if the audience got it, but that consistency of doing it every week, you have that rhythm, right? In business, like when we have that rhythm, that consistency, I mean, that's how we produce a lot of results through that, right? And so yeah, I love that you do it that way. And so you're always in conversation about raising money. You're always in conversation to talk to some investor, about having, putting their money to work with you. Do you have any challenge in, do you make sure that every week you're talking to a certain amount of people? And then if there's a week where you're like, oh man, there's only 2 people coming in today, do you push it harder to make sure you always have a minimum amount of people?
Well, I definitely agree. You should be doing this. I have my schedule, and it was funny because during COVID, when it first started, I said, wow, we're locked down. What do I do? And I got really, really intense with my schedule of times. And I had a certain time every week that I would call and I would call all my investors, and I would call all my asset managers at all the banks I work with. And I would just talk to them every week, knowing that they might not be ready to go and they might not have assets for me today. And by doing that, now that things have opened up, I see assets crossing my desk a couple times a week now, right? From asset managers. I'm talking about tapes of non-performing assets crossing my desk every week, where other people just shut it down. They call when they have money, or they call when they need money. All right. So yeah, I schedule everything out in my week. Everything I do is scheduled out, as far as, because I live by intent and purpose, right? My life is to live that way. And I know it's people like, you can't do that, but I do it for certain things. I do it because I want to make sure I speak to my investors every week, my lenders, my asset managers. I want to stay in their face every week. I want to make sure they're good. I want to make sure that a lot of times I call them, they're like, everything's great. I have a friend that has some money too. Can you help him? They're asking me, can I help that friend, or can I help that family member get involved in deals? And right now I tell them, well, right now there's nothing for you right now. So I keep them on the whole, I keep them holding right now.
Right.
And because I won't put their money in a deal that I don't like. So yeah, that's a great point. And you definitely should do that. You should schedule out every week how many times a week you're going to call, depending on how many you have. If you have 200 investors, I would make sure, figure out a way that you're going to do it. Call 200 investors. It could be 3 days a week. You make those phone calls, you carve out a schedule, you stay on top of them. It doesn't have to be every week. It could be every 2 weeks, once a month, whatever you decide it is.
Mhm.
that you, because you want to see where their head is at. You want to see
Mhm.
what their goals are. You want to see how you can help them. You want to see what they tell you, and you want to let them know what you're up to. Because if you don't tell them what you're up to, they're going to go somewhere else, or they just will do something else. They'll put money there. They'll buy a business. They'll use their money for something else. They're not going to let it sit.
Right. That's awesome. Now, you've been through the last market crash. What's your crystal ball telling you about this upcoming
Oh,
market?
I love this crystal ball. Everyone's got that crystal ball. Crystal. Um, I let's talk about, because we're here with the multifamily space, right? So let's talk about
Mhm.
the multifamily space. I can only go by what I'm seeing right now.
Mhm.
I would make sure as if you guys are guys and gals here are LPs at all, I would make
Mhm.
sure there's a plan with your operators, your GPs on refinancing out. What is their plan or a sale? Because like for instance, in 2019, I sold my last multifamily building for a 5.9 cap, right? He had a 5-year reset on that deal. Okay. You're talking about 3 years into that deal. When that
Mhm.
deal resets, it's all based obviously on, we know, on cap rate, DCR, NOI. When the rates go up,
Mhm.
they're going to start calling that note. They're going to make them come to the table with a couple $1 million. All right. If he
Mm.
hasn't sold it, I don't know if it's sold yet. If he hasn't sold it, he's going to have to come to the table with a couple $1 million. That's when you're going to start to see a fire sale going. Okay. Because they're not going to refi to pay off investors. They're going to care less about the investors. So if he's still on that deal with a bunch of LPs in that deal, equity partners, they're going to have a big problem. Right.
Mm.
So in the multifamily space, that's where I see a potential issue if people don't account for that in their due diligence. So, and I'm sure everyone here is accounting for that. They're ready and they know what's going on. They're accounting for that. I also think in the multifamily space, what I like now is I like asset classes. Like I like being in the B plus and A asset classes right now. Because when there's a big, and I remember in 2007, 8, 9, when there was a big demand, I mean, no demand at that point, there's a lot of inventory. They were giving away free rent and everybody was jumping into the A class buildings that couldn't sell for the same rent as a C class building. I remember that
Mm.
happening. So that's kind of where I would be. I'd be in an asset class that's an A. That's what if I was back in the multifamily space, I'd be buying A asset class buildings, right? In great emerging markets with a lot of job growth, right? With millennials, they like those multifamily buildings. And I would be careful on a 5-year reset. I'd be looking more of a 7 to 10 years with the opportunity to get out early if I needed to.
Right. That's good. I like that. All right. So we mentioned at the beginning of the call a little bit about your passion, but I'd love to hear from you. What are some of your biggest passion or biggest goal at this point in your life?
Well, obviously my passion and my goal is all based around my family. I've worked so hard. I just turned 50. I've been doing this since I'm 19 years old, not even 18. My goal, my passion is to spend as much time with my family, quality time, and be present for them. I have a grandson, be present for him,
Oh,
teach them. Build a legacy for them beyond belief, so they don't have to depend on the government to take care of them. They don't have to depend on the job to take care of them. Teach them everything they need to know, and I've been doing that. I mean, I'm blessed. My grandson's 2 years old. I mean, I'm glad to say he's already a millionaire at 2 years old.
wow.
Don't say that to impress anybody. It's to impress upon you that you can really help the future generation. So I'm looking to just, I have a lot of opportunities. I want to teach financial literacy to youth around the world. I'm working on that right now. I just want to give back. Anything I do with book sales, course sales, I'm in health coaching now. Anything I do with that, I give back to different organizations. I'm big. I was a executive producer of the Make-A-Wish Foundation movie, which is called Wish
Mm,
Man. I was friends with the founder of Make-A-Wish Foundation before he passed away. I was able to bring a lot of money to the table for that movie to be produced.
wow.
Involved in Operation Underground, which rescues child sex slavery. So I use my
Mhm.
money. I always say money is good, money is bad. I choose to use my money for a lot of good. So a lot of times when I do any kind of training or sales or course sales, all my course sales that I do, my online training on how to raise private money, or my book sales goes right to an account where I fund it. So I've been able to fund 6 figures a year now. My goal is to fund 7 figures a year into that account. Because I've been blessed in my real estate business, that provides me a really nice income. It sets my family up really well. I built a legacy And I built a pretty large, we talk about multis and single families. I have a pretty large single family portfolio, and most of them I own outright. So I have over 600 assets, right? Single families. 432 right now are seller financed, and I have to fix the number because every week we get more paid off. 432 are seller financed. The rest are owned and operated. The ones that they're all paid off in full, right? So I can go to the bank. So when we talk about money, I can go to a bank, and I have banks come to me and they will fund 90% of my seller finance notes right now. So I don't need a little bit of a Grant Cardone thing. I don't say I support, but I can go and buy a multifamily for cash now if I need to. So I could buy a 4 or 5 cat right now and be okay. I'm not choosing to do that. I'm just saying, if you plan your life accordingly, right? So in the beginning, it's the Robert Kiyosaki, and I know I'm going to piss people off here. Then I got into the Dave Ramsey, right? Then you go back up, right? You switch. But I work backwards. I figure out what my goals are, right? What my because goals are, which I just told you. And I work backwards. How do I get to those goals in 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, 1 month? What action steps do I need to take to get there? Because I know we all talk, and I'm very careful to tell people what I have, because I don't want to act like I'm, I don't want to pat myself on the back. And I'm trying to stay very humble with this. And I want to bring a ton of value to the group, so you guys can look at, forget about what Dan Zitofsky or Tim Mai has. Let's work about what you have. Don't compare yourself to me. I've already been done, right? Compare yourself to what you need in your life. And what I want in my life is very specific on what I want to do. I've become crystal clear on my vision and my why, crystal clear, right? And you could tell me, hey, Dan, you're going to make a ton of money on this one deal. I probably won't do it if it takes me away from what I want to do, right? I really want the money to come in so I can bless these organizations beyond belief. I mean, I've just been able to do so many great things, and I don't put it out there because I do it for me. Selfishly, I do it for me. It makes me feel better than anything I've ever done. And I just want to do more of it, right? At what point do you create a legacy? And I've already done a lot for my kids. My grandkids will all be okay. I've helped a tremendous amount of people. As you heard, somebody was on here, went through my Raising Private Money course. I've helped a tremendous amount of people raise way more money than I've raised already. I taught them, and they've raised, because they've done a lot bigger deals than I've done. They develop multifamilies and communities now. They develop from scratch. That I don't do that stuff. So just changing the world a little bit. And I know that's kind of like I don't like that answer, changing the world. But when you break down changing the world, I think I gave you a couple of things I want to do. It's not just change the world. It's okay, how are you going to do that? Why are you going to do that? Okay, dig deeper, pull that onion back even deeper. So I have certain organizations and certain values in my life that I want to make happen for, and bless so many other people by doing it, right? If I can help, homeless vets build a community and learn how to do trades and build their own self-sufficient city. And it could be, I could do it. It's not when, I will do it. It's just getting it done. So, and those are that's what keeps me going, right? Because the biggest problem is sometimes you get to this point where you have enough money or you have what you need. What else keeps you going, right? There's only so many times I can go on my boat. So many times I can head to the beach all summer. So tan I can get, but what else keeps you going? What else makes you wake up and say, I have a purpose in life? And that's really, coaching, health coaching now, and blessing other people has been such an amazing blessing. So that's what keeps me going.
That's awesome. And you mentioned something I'd love to circle back and have you share the strategy, but your grandson being 2 years old, already a millionaire,
Yes.
how did you set that? What's that structure look like? How did you help him set that up?
Well, we wound up, we set him up with Coverdell and a self-directed IRA already, right? So I pay my grandson. When he was a baby, he was a model for my company. So I was able to pay him, and I set up a trust, and he's going to be the trust at 18. He's going to become the trustee of that trust. So he owns 6 properties in that trust right now, about $1.9 million in that trust. Over the next 5 to 6 years, I'm not going to keep refinancing. Those are going to be completely, I work on a payoff scale. So the next 5, 6 years, they'll be completely paid off. They'll have no debt on them. So when he goes to college, if he goes to college at that point, he'll be able to just pay for college with the rent. If he doesn't go to college at a certain point, he'll be able to take over once I deem him responsible, but his name is part of the trust right now. So it's his trust. I only have one grandson. So when I have each grandchild, hopefully God willing, they allow me to have multiple grandkids. my goal is to do that for each one of them, right? So
Mm,
put it,
I love
property,
that.
yeah, because you have to. I mean, I don't want to get political, but you don't know where this world is going, and we have to take control. I'm not going to complain about what's happening in this world. I'm just going to do things a little different myself, right? I'm going to take control, and we have a great opportunity to do this, and we have and you talked about before the crystal ball. I think there's a tremendous opportunity over the next 2 to 3 years, and there's going to be a major transfer of wealth on the real estate side. The only way it's going to happen is if you learn to raise private money. That's the only way it's going to happen, because banks are going to control your destiny if you allow them to. Hard money lenders will control your destiny. If they get scared, they'll pull out. I saw it with COVID. That's when my phone blew up. Learn how to raise private money, and you will never have a problem with any kind of business.
That's awesome. And do you see that raising money, private money in a down market, it's harder or easier than in a hot market?
Oh, the stock market got crushed. It's been so easy right now to raise private money. I mean, if I had deals with people, I mean, right now it's people that had money, like a lot of the people I work with, and even me, I diversified. I hate to say it, but I have money with a financial advisor, a wealth advisor, and it's driving me absolutely insane. But the only difference to me is I know I have 10-year period. So I cost average, right? I'm not selling when it's low. But
Right.
a lot of the investors I work with are, they're very accredited. They're not just accredited, they're very accredited now. So they have multiple streams of where their money is. But, now they're calling me up and they're like, you know what, if you have anything, let me know. I don't care. I'm going to pull it with you. And because the opportunity cost, I can't wait 10 years to get my money back. So I'll take a loss on it, write it off of my taxes, and I know I'll make it back with you. So there's a lot of that right now, a lot. I mean, those are the calls I kind of get now, that they're willing to pull money out of their high-end investment accounts. Those LPLs and those Merrill Lynch investment accounts, the high net worth ones, and they're looking to pull some money over because they're willing to take a loss, write it off on their taxes, and then the opportunity cost, they don't want to wait 10 years to get that money back or whatever it might be. I said I have a 10-year run rate. They have the opportunity. They don't want to wait. They want to take that money, and they can make, in a multifamily syndication, they're seeing in the teens to the 20s, possibly 30% return on their money year after year compounded. They'd rather see that.
Right. That's awesome. All right, Stan, it's been an amazing interview. I love all the stuff you share, really good stuff. So if the audience, the listeners want to get a hold of you, get access to your book, where do you want to send them?
For the book, they can go right on Amazon, The Passive to Prosperous. They can get access to that. I'll tell you, we just finished up this last week. I'm finishing up a cheat sheet for how to raise private money. But if they want to go to my other cheat sheet, grab that. It's it's not about raising private money essentially, but they'll get on my list and I'll get them that cheat sheet. So they can go to passivewealthacademy.com/42K. So passivewealthacademy.com/42K. They'll get my cheat sheet and then they'll be on my list. I don't spam you guys. I don't sell my names. I don't advertise to you. I don't believe in any of that. As you know, I take tremendous honor and respect for anybody that I work with. It's a relationship. Any email that comes from me. But I will send out an email once my new cheat sheet is up and ready to go. And you'll get my cheat sheet on how to raise private money. And if there's anything I could do, you could always, get into my Facebook group, Become a Real Estate Investor with Dan Zitofsky. I monitor that. I also have a YouTube page under Zitofsky Capital Management. We have some videos in there. We're going to start bringing more in there once my marketing team gets behind that and gets that done. So that's all the places to get me. Unfortunately, my Facebook personally, I'm at 5,000 friends, so I really can't accept more friends there. So go to Become a Real Estate Investor with Dan Zitofsky and start following some stuff there. If you have any questions, message me in there. Just so you know, I personally myself answer every message. So it's me who answers them. So I'll get back to you. I can promise you that. If you need any help with anything, you're here with Tim. It's just an honor. I know you coming from Tim's group, The Hero, and I'm very familiar with the group. I'm very familiar with Tim. I'm not going to charge you to answer your questions. I'm more than happy to answer your questions for you. If I can help you in any way, I'm here to help you anytime.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan. Love your generosity. Yeah.